Hey guys, I'm going to go over our iReady packet that you got before we left school on March 13th, and we're going to be doing page 118 through 119. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully you will all be able to see it. All right, here it is. Okay, so this is identifying positive and negative numbers. All right, so it says Jenna and a friend are playing a game that shows a number line from -7 to +7. The game is played with 15 cards numbered with the integers from -7 to +7. Players draw a card from a pile. They earn points for correctly locating the number on the card on the number line and then identifying its opposite. All right, so remember in a number line, 0 is always in the center. Okay, and then to the right, we always have our positive numbers. And to the left of 0, we have our negative numbers. Okay, so of course our positives are the easiest. So from 0, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and of course on to infinity. With our negatives, we count the exact same way. We just put a negative number in front of it. So from 0, we go to -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, and then of course all the way to -infinity. Okay. So it says finish labeling the number line, which we did. Suppose Jana draws a card that shows -3. Draw a point at -3 on the number line. So we locate -3 on the number line, which is here, and we're drawing a point. So we just put a dot right at -3. Okay. What number is the opposite of -3? So remember, opposite, okay, is either positive or negative, depending on what number you're looking at. And it's also the same distance from 0. So from 0, we have 1, 2, 3 on the negative side. So from 0, we would go 1, 2, 3 to the positive side and get +3 as our opposite, okay? Because it is 3 spaces to the right of 0. Okay? Jana's friend draws a card that shows a 0. Draw a point at 0. What is the opposite of 0? Okay, so again, we locate 0. There it is. And we put a dot because it says to. And then what is the opposite of 0? Well, remember, opposite is talking about the distance from 0. So it's 0 away from 0. So its opposite would be 0. Okay? 0 is its own opposite. Okay? The next card drawn is -6. How far from 0 is -6? Okay, so here's 0, and we want to know how far away is -6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is 6 spaces. Okay, so 6 units or 6 pieces, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and then it says in which direction? Well, because we went to -6, we went to the left. Okay, so we went to the left of 0. And then it says draw a point at -6. So at -6, we're going to draw a dot. Here we go. What number is the same distance from 0 to -6, but in the other direction? So remember, we went from 0 to -6, and we went 6 units. So now we're going to go the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now we're at positive 6. And remember, you don't have to put the positive sign. It can just be 6 all by itself. Okay? The only time you definitely need to put your sign is if it's negative. Two numbers that are the same distance from 0, but on different sides of 0 are called, okay, so remember they're the same distance, but they are on opposite sides. We call those opposites. Okay, opposite numbers. Okay. Number 9. Graph each integer and its opposite on the number line. All right, so let's start with 5. So we're going to graph 5. So we're going to put a dot at 5. And then, of course, its opposite would be negative 5, right? Its opposite. Okay, negative 1, that's here. So it's 1 to the left, so we're going to go 1 to the right and get positive 1. Okay, positive 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left to get its opposite, so negative 4. And then negative 2. So we went 1, 2 to the left to get to negative 2. So we're going to go 1, 2 to the right and get its opposite at positive 2. Okay, hope that makes sense. All right, let's turn to the next page. All right, number 10. Look at the number line on the previous page. There are numbers between the numbers you graphed. Just as whole numbers can be positive or negative, fractions and decimals can also be positive or negative. The number 1.5 is between 1 and 2 because it's 1.5, so that's 1.5. The number negative 1.5 is between negative 2 and negative 1. Draw a point at 1.5 and a point at negative 1.5 on the number line below and label each point. All right, so between 1 and 2 is 1.5, and between negative 2 and negative 1 is negative 1.5. Okay. How is locating negative 1.5 on a number line the same as locating 1.5 on a number line? And how is it different? Okay, well, negative 1.5 is the same distance from 0, okay, on the number line. You just move in the opposite direction. Use the number line below to graph the following numbers. Label each point with its value, then graph and label the opposite of each number. Okay? All right, so 1.5, okay? So here's 1, and then we need to go half of this space. So if you look between 1 and 2, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So half of 4 would be here. So this is 1.5. Okay? So it's halfway between 1 and 2. Okay, -1 1/4. All right, so here's -1, and then we need to go 1/4 of the next space. Okay, well, since there are 4 pieces, then one of those fourths would be right here. So -1 1/4, 1 1/4. Okay, then we have -1/2. So half would be in between 0 and -1. And again, because there are 4 pieces, half of that would be 2. So there's -1/2. Okay. Then it says, of course, to graph and label their opposites. So the opposite of 1 1/2 would be -1 1/2. So again, here's -1, and then a half would be here. Okay. -1 1/4. The opposite of that would be +1 1/4. So we'd go to +1, and then 1/4 would be here. And then -1/2. The opposite of that would be +1/2. So halfway between 0 and 1 would be there. Okay. All right, a few more. Explore writing positive and negative numbers to represent a situation. Write a positive or negative number. So if you owe somebody money, that means you have to give them money. That means you are out that $25. So you have a -$25. Okay. A team has a gain of 20 yards in a football game. So if you gain something, that is a positive 20. And remember, you don't have to put the positive. You could just write 20 by itself. Okay. 2 floors below ground level. So if you're going down, that would be -2. 15 degrees above 0. So now we're going up. So that is a +15 or just 15. And the stock price fell 4.26 points. So if it fell, it's going down. So -4.26. Okay, I hope that made sense. I'm going to stop sharing this real quick. All right, so make sure you do that page in your packet and do the 2 assignments that are on Google Classroom. And I will talk to you soon. All right.